Maybe not, you know. Maybe not. It'll probably more from like getting interrupted by like, my wife pulling up.
Yeah, maybe. Drives right into the garage.
It's like The Simpsons. Let's get on in. All right. So ready?
Unique New York.
Ready to do this?
Yeah, wait, hands up, hands down.
Whatever's comfortable, bro.
I don't want to be like David Moss Toyota. I think
Yeah.
he never knows what to do with his hands.
Whatever it takes. So Aaron, you're
Right? He's always so awkward and he's like,
yeah.
Beer is good! Beer is good! Beer is good! And stop!
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to this episode of the Beer Chasers. I'm Preston. We're joined today by special guest Tom Infande, better known as Hophead Tom.
how's it going, guys?
So today we're going to be doing some IPAs. We've been talking about doing this for a while, so you brought some over to share. What do we got today?
We're going to start off with the Red Hook Longhammer IPA, and then we're going to finish off with the Bell's Two Hearted IPA.
Sounds good to me. You ready to drink some beer?
Let's do it.
Let's do this. Longhammer IPA is an American IPA from the Red Hook Brewery out of Seattle, Washington. First brewed in 1984, Longhammer includes a generous amount of hops both during and at the end of fermentation, which gives it a piney citrus aroma and flavor. It has an ABV of 6.2%, an IBU of 44, an SRM of 8.5, Beer Advocate rates it at 75, Rate Beer rates it at 84. Alright, so here we have the Longhammer IPA. Let's go ahead and look at the appearance.
It's nice and clear. It's a little bit more clear than I'm used to with an
Yeah,
IPA,
definitely light,
actually.
very, very see-through, low SRM
Yeah, it's
for
a
sure.
little more amber. Normally with IPAs, it's a little bit darker, but not. Black IPA is obviously super dark, but this, is pretty light for an IPA. It's pretty
I'm
refreshing.
going to rate that one on a 1 to 5.
Color, I would say it's not what I'm used to from an IPA, so I would say 4. It's not necessarily
Okay.
bad that it's lighter.
Not super off, but pretty well.
Yeah.
Alright, how about the smell?
Smell, I'm gonna have to say that definitely smells like an
I
IPA.
snorted it. I like it so much I snorted it.
It's definitely, you can tell that this is a dry hopped IPA. It's got that hop right up front at the nose, nice and floral.
Yeah,
citrusy.
a little bit citrusy, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So how do you like the smell on that one?
For this one, it smells what I expect out of an IPA, and I'll say 5 for a smell.
Alright, cool. So right on point for an IPA,
Yeah,
exactly what it should be.
Definitely.
Awesome. Well, the best part, let's taste this. Cheers.
Refreshing.
That's really good. It's hoppy, but not super hopped.
Right, it's definitely a lot lighter than most IPAs as far as the hops. Maybe that's why it's a little bit more clear than usual. But I think what helps is the flavors of the dry hopping, because they happen to dry hop this particular IPA.
Yeah, it's not super bitter.
Right, it's not super bitter, but you really get that flavor of the dry hopping, like the floral and just nice.
We talked before. I've had this one
notes.
before. This used to be one of my go-to IPAs when I first got into craft beers, and I haven't had it in a couple years. I'm really glad I have.
Yeah.
It's and again, I think why I like this one, it's a little more malty too. It's not so super bitter. You get a little bit of that malt, and again, I don't know if it's the malts they use or if it's just the fact that they don't use as much bittering hops, but.
Yeah, it's
really
definitely a lot more balanced than your usual IPA, which tends to, some of the Imperial IPAs, they do end up balancing it out with malts, but most regular IPAs kind of lean heavier into the hops.
Especially these days.
This one, is definitely nice and balanced and very, very drinkable. It's light and it's thin. It's not as heavy as a lot of other IPAs. So
Derek called it a sessionable
Right,
IPA?
definitely a good session IPA if you're trying to drink IPAs all day.
So how do you want to rate the taste?
I'll give the taste, it's not the best IPA I've ever had, but I am a fan of the dry hopping, so I'll give the taste a 4.
Okay, 4, solid. How about the mouthfeel and the tongue?
I'd say this one's a little light for me for IPAs. It's normally a little bit thicker, and maybe because of the somewhat lack of super strong hops, but it just is a little bit lighter. I don't want to say Budweiser-y, but it's kind of.
I can see what you're saying.
It's kind of like really thin.
There are some nice bubbles though. It is kind of like we said, crisp and refreshing. It's just not as thick as you kind of want to.
Right. Yeah.
So how do you want to rate that?
I'll give the mouth probably like 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So overall, how do you feel about Longhammer IPA?
It's like I said, it's really good for a session IPA if you want to be drinking all day, which some do, some don't.
Yeah.
But for that reason, I'll go ahead and give this one a 4. I actually like this one a lot.
4 overall?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay.
It's relatively cheap, and you can find it other places. As far as if you're going to IPA, it's pretty easy to find.
Yeah.
And it's good to drink all day.
Very nice.
If that's the only thing you can find, definitely go for it.
It's an all-day IPA.
Indeed.
Cool. So as we kind of typically do, I'm going to mirror that and give it an 8. I think it's a very solid IPA. If you're a super hophead and you're just wanting hop like Hophead Tom here,
Yeah, that's not gonna.
if that's all you like, you're not really going to like this. It's not going to scratch the itch. But if you're maybe just new into IPAs, you want something that's a little more sessionable. Very good, very very well balanced. I mean, this is probably my go-to IPA. Again, I'm not into the palate wrecker kind of beers.
Right.
I'm not wanting hops just for hop's sake. I like it nice and balanced. The fact that there's less bittering hops here to me makes it more drinkable. So 8 out of 10. So there you go, Longhammer IPA. Two Hearted Ale is an American-style IPA from the Bell's Brewery in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Two Hearted Ale is hopped exclusively with Centennial hops from the Pacific Northwest region in both the kettle and again in the fermenter. It has an ABV of 7%, an IBU of 55. Beer Advocate rates it at 95. Rate Beer rates it at 100. Alright, so here we have the Bell's Two Hearted Ale.
Yeah, this is one of the higher rated IPAs on Beer Advocate and stuff like that.
So take a look at the appearance.
As you can see, it's a lot darker, and maybe not, but it's a lot darker and cloudier than the Longhammer that we had previously. It's going to be a lot thicker, at least in appearance-wise. You can't really get too much light through it. There's some coming through, but not a lot.
It's a very dark kind of amber color.
Yes. So for this one, I'm going to go ahead and say 5 out of 5.
Okay, looks perfect. Looks beautiful for an IPA.
Beautiful for an IPA.
All right. How about the smell?
Straight up, just like
I snorted that one again.
Piney hops. Yeah, delicious, man. Yeah, this one smells like really. You just get a lot of hop up front, a lot of just clean, real floral hops.
You can smell kind of the bitter, the floral, the aroma. Like you get every bit of it.
I'm gonna give this one a 5 out of 5 smell.
All right, well, 2 5s, man. I'm excited to taste it. Let's try it. Cheers. It's hoppy.
Yes, delicious hop, like right up front. You can tell there's a lot of balance between like maybe different kinds of hops.
Yeah, definitely.
You get like nice bitterness up front, but then you get some kind of sweetness, not necessarily from malt, but kind of like almost like the difference in the hops.
Yeah.
And you kind of get different hop flavors resting on the back of the tongue.
Yeah, the best I can say is you get some bitter, you get some floral, and you have the aroma. Like this is one of the most perfect balances of hops I've ever tasted.
I agree.
Because generally, like it's very bitter or it's kind of floral. Like this one kind of sits right in the middle. Like you get a little bit of both.
Right, and it's not necessarily too sweet, and it's not too hoppy, but it's not lacking in either department.
Cool.
I'm going to go ahead and give this one, flavor-wise, gotta say 5.
Alright, so 3 5. So what about the mouthfeel? So is there any imperfection in the mouthfeel for this beer?
Mouthfeel, I'll say, is a little light for me.
I'd agree.
I normally, with like, I guess maybe I'm used to Imperial IPAs and stuff like that are a little thicker, but for the amount of hops that this is delivering, I feel like it's a little light in the mouthfeel for me. So I'll say maybe like a 4.
Okay. Yeah, I would definitely agree. It's kind of crisp and refreshing, which is nice, but you'd want it to kind of stick around just a little longer, have a little more thickness to it, a little more backbone.
I agree.
Cool. So we got 3 5s and a 4, so we're talking about a 4.75, a damn near perfect IPA.
Pretty close so far, yeah, pretty close.
Cool. For my ranking, I'll give it an 8.5. I think it's definitely better than a Longhammer. When we talk about the Longhammer, that was very sessionable, very light and crisp. This kind of takes it to the next level. This is very balanced. You get a couple different hop characteristics in there.
Yeah, you might not be able to drink this one all day like you can with the Longhammer, but this one you're going to get a lot more hops to it, a lot more flavor, and it's going to be a lot. I think it's a lot more worth it to have one of these, maybe 1 or 2 of these versus the Longhammer. Again, it depends on what you're trying to do. If you want to just drink them all day, hit the Longhammer. But if you're just looking for like a couple good IPAs that are going to give you some like real good hops, real good flavor, this is top notch. It's one of the top few.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, any hophead's going to love this, and I would even say anybody who's just kind of interested in IPAs who has a palate for it would definitely enjoy this as well. Whereas the Longhammer is definitely more kind of towards the the noob or the entry level kind of. Where
right.
this would satisfy even the greatest hopheads palates.
Agreed. Yes.
All right, so that's going to wrap up this episode of the Beer Chasers. We started with the Longhammer IPA.
Right. Yeah, it's a real thin, sessionable IPA. Maybe somewhat lacking in hops for normal Hophead IPA fans, but it is dry hopped, and so it does add a nice bitterness to it, and it's real refreshing and drinkable and thin. If you're going to be drinking IPAs all day, definitely you could do worse.
Yeah, that's the IPA I started on. That was my go-to sessionable IPA. I don't mind some of the other hoppy beers, but that one as a go-to as far as being able to drink it all day long. So then we had the Bell's Two-Hearted Ale.
Yeah, that one's definitely more along the lines of what you'd expect from normal IPA characteristics. Lots of hops, nice bitterness up front, but this one's well balanced. Not necessarily well balanced as far as the hop versus malt, which is what you normally expect, but well balanced within the hops itself. I mean, you get some nice bitterness, you get some nice floral, real good mix of flavors in there. I really can't think of much that I would hate as far as the Two-Hearted goes.
Yeah, that's what really surprised me is the hop balance there. You had the floral, you had the bitter, you had the aroma. That was everything you'd want in an IPA, so definitely a really great beer.
Right, yeah, you can definitely see why it's rated well on Beer Advocate and other sites like that.
All right, so with those tastings complete, that's going to wrap it up. I'm Preston. This is Tom from the Beer Chasers. We'll see you later.
Beer is good, beer is good, beer is good. And stop, beer is good, beer is good, beer is good. Let's go drink some beer. Beer.